gosh. Hi, it's Stacy with So Steady, and we are here live for a fun project-filled day, guys. We hope to inspire all of you with some quick and easy holiday projects today that are going to get you excited to use some of your Westerly tools and your So Steady tools for the holidays. So, along with that, we're going to have some amazing giveaways today. So, all in all, I think we're going to have a lot of fun. What do you think, Donnell?
I know we're going to have fun. So they just need to pull up a chair and have something to take some notes.
Well, and I know how many of you love watching Donnell and doing all of her projects. So this was Donnell's idea, and we got a whole lot of other educators in on it too. So we're going to have a great morning this morning. Well, it's morning here. I'm sure it's afternoon where Donnell is. She's on the East Coast. So we're starting off at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll be going until about 1 o'clock today. So obviously this will be recorded. So don't worry if you don't get to catch every single one of the projects today, but all of these are sure to inspire you and give you some fun little project ideas that you're going to enjoy. So I'm going to let Donnell take it away, but just know after Donnell's class, we're going to be doing a giveaway with one of the tools that she's showing off today. And so just give us lots of comments, tell us what you think, and then we're going to be posting some links to some of those tools and giving you some heads up on some of these amazing holiday deals that are just at their end. So you want to take advantage of them while you can. So enough about that. I'm going to have Donnell take it away and get started on this fun-filled project day. Thanks, guys.
All right. So I'm going to be using several things today. One of them is my Christmas motifs set, which are 4-inch tall designs that you can use in a lot of different ways. And so I got the front of this out so you could actually see what the designs are. And I'm going to show you one thing that we did last year that everybody really had fun with. And that was making the ornaments or Christmas ties. You can do it either way, as far as I've done 2 colors on that one. That's the stocking. Here's the star. Here's the star without any extra. And you can make them 2 colors. And as you can see, we had a lot of fun with this. I used some felt that had some glitter spots on it. And then we actually made hangers for them out of floss so that you could hang these on a tree or use them as package labels, because you can write right on this. And so we just had a lot of fun with these last year. And you can use the wool felt, or you can use just the regular felt like we've used for years for different things. But be creative in this. This is a lot of fun. And obviously you saw there that I cut those out with the pinking shears. Now what we're going to do today is I am going to be using the little gingerbread boy. At least that's what my intentions are. He could be a teddy bear too, but I'm going to say he's a gingerbread boy. And we are going to be making a circular table mat. And I have cut 2 pieces of this red fabric, 30 inches square. I have a fusible fleece that I have 30 inches square. And when I put this together, I did not put the backing on. We're going to decorate the front and then put the back on. So it'll cover up all of the extra things that we might not really want to see on that backing. So I've gone ahead and put my stable tape, obviously, on my template. And I'm going to lay some things aside because I've got such a big piece here that I'm working with. So the first thing that I went ahead and did was I found the center. And so I just marked a small crosshair, and you'll see why here in just a little bit, because it's not going to matter. That was done with chalk. It would come right off. But I really don't have to worry about that, because at the end, I've got a piece of my plaid fabric that I'm actually going to sew a circle around that. And then we will decorate that. So that's going to cover all of that up anyway. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we are going to show you how we did this. So what I did is I took some Templey fuse If you're not familiar with that, that is a Sew Steady product that's a fusible. And I laid my template on there and I drew around the inside. Now, when you're drawing around the inside of this, you want to make sure that you kind of angle your pencil or your ink pen or whatever, because you want it to get right against that edge. Excuse me. And so you're going to draw those onto the back of that template fuse. And I'm going to use 8 of these. So I did 4 of them on this fabric that looks like it's suede. No, it's not. It actually is a product by Shannon that makes the minky type fabrics. And it's really, it's soft. It's nice. And I want to tell you, make sure you get your grain going down, because as this, you know, it's just something that as you would pet this, if this was a bear or whatever, you would pet it down. So you make sure not the grain, the nap is going down. If you go the other way, it just kind of messes it up. So make sure it's going down. And yes, you can press this. And this is so much fun to cut out because it's so sturdy that it's easy to cut out. So I've not cut out these last 2. We might not get to them anyway. But then I did the same thing on my plaid fabric. So I just put it so it was off grain. That would have been on grain, but I'm going to have it so it's off grain. Now, what are we going to do here? Well, this is what's called a filler paddle. And it works with these templates that have this edge up here like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to take a piece, actually 2 pieces of my tape that I like to use, which is RNK. And I'm going to put that so that that stays right in there. And that's going to hold that in place. I'm going to turn it over and put another one on to hold that in place. Now, this little filler paddle has numbers on it, but those numbers don't mean a thing, okay? They're just so that we can tell you what hole number to put something in. So on your filler paddle, if you already have one, if you look at it, those numbers there are going to make it easier. So like today, when I tell you a certain number, you're going to be able to jot down, well, Donnell used this particular number. So I'm going to go right to the center here where I've already marked it. And I'm going to put that piece of tape there. And we are going to take our filler paddle. Now, remember, I got stable tape on this. And we're going to decide how far out. That looks pretty good. I thought that's what it would be. It's in hole number 11. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our cutout pieces here. And we're going to peel the back off. I probably should have started peeling. No, there it is. It comes right off. So you can see I've got that on the back. And so I'm going to lift this up. I forgot one thing. I didn't bring my iron over here. So you're going to have to let me run get my iron. So I'm going to keep that in there. And remember, when we stitch this, it's going to be 1/4 of an inch in. So I've lined my filler paddle up. There's a line right down the center of it, right in the middle there. Let's get you over there so you can see it. And I've lined that up with my line. And all I needed to do was just kind of drop this in place. Okay. Now let me get my iron real quick. This is where your little iron would be just perfect. But I've already heated up my big iron, so that's what we're going to use. And we're going to slip my ironing board. I got a little flat ironing board, and so I'm just kind of sliding it underneath there. Miss Ruthie has decided she wants to help today. Ruthie, I'm sorry, you're kind of in the way. There we go. So I'm going to check to make sure we're still straight. We are. That's laying there. So all I need to do now is just lift up my paddle and move it. And I'm going to press my little fellow in place. Now don't panic. That marking will go away. All right, so let's rotate it again. Come over to our next line. And this time, we'll drop in one of the plaid ones. I love this plaid. It's not woven. You can see it's not printed through there, but and we just drop him in place, kind of like a puzzle. And you could do this with any template. So did you see? It's a good thing I talked about what number, because when I lifted that up, it went off the pen. So let's just take this and come over here and put it right back on that number. I'm going to check to make sure. Yeah. Put that in place. I'm so glad I've got my nice big wish table, because otherwise I don't think I could do a project this big. But I think this is going to be fun. You could even cut out the center and make this a little tree skirt for a little tabletop tree, or just set the tabletop tree on it. You wouldn't even have to cut out the center. Drop this little guy in place. Pick that up. He got a little fuzzy hook to him. I got to get that off. I don't want it stitched in. So I think I got two more here we'll do. So I'm pulling this around because my ironing surface is underneath there. You could do this at a table or your ironing board away from the project. So there we go. I can think of several other templates that would be fun to do this way. Now, by having the fleece, not the fleece, but the template fuse on the back, they're going to have a lot less chance of doing any kind of fraying out or anything like that. Now the other one that I have, we're going to have to go back here because it is one of the plaid ones. So make sure we're all flat, still on the 11. And we're going to come around to this spot. And of course, you could do them all in the brown, or you could do them all in the plaid. I think there's a lot of possibility. If you have an embroidery machine, you could do this and embroider family members or grandkids' names or whatever, either on the little gingerbread or above or below. There's so many things that you could do with this. So one little spot right here on this little guy that wasn't down. All right. So I'm going to put my iron pad down there. And how I even got this idea was that I was playing at, I say playing because that's what I think it is, at a show with this template and came up with this fun idea. So you don't necessarily need to put it on here. I could just use this template, but I think this is easier to move around when I'm doing it this way. Now, I just realized that I don't have my big mat on here, and I definitely want it. So let's just quickly move the circles and straights, which I'm going to use later. And get my grid glider. Now remember, if your grid glider is starting not to cling to your surface, mine's still clinging, you can hear it as I pull it up, then you are going to want to wipe it with a baby wipe and let it dry before you go to use it again. We're going to be switching back and forth from a regular foot to a ruler. Well, we probably won't switch back and forth, but we are going to switch and use that other foot. So I'm going to keep it handy. And I decided that I was going to do my stitching to stitch this down. It's a green color that's actually this green right here that's in this plaid. So that's what I'm going to use to stitch that down. All right. I lost my paddle. There it is. All right. We're going to come in here to that number 11. And I'm going to hold that in place. And remember, when we start and stop these, you really don't have to tie anything off if you backstitch over it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a place that's a little bit less obvious. So I'm going to start right down here in the little foot. Helps if you set it for ruler work. There we go. Now we can move. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and just put that foot down, plant that needle, and since I don't have my back on and my machine doesn't mess up, I could just go ahead and start stitching, but I'm going to go ahead and pull that thread up. So let me get my tweezers here. Pull that up, get that other thread there. Can you tell these are not my favorite tweezers? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to set that back down, make sure I've got it set where I want it. A little too fast for me. Now when I come back, I'm just going to overlap a little bit and go back and then use my cutter. And then it's cut the thread and taken the tails to the back, except for these two little threads right here that I pulled up to begin with. So I've stitched around that one. We're just going to go ahead and move around here to the next one. And it really won't matter where I began here. So I'm going to kind of begin in an easier spot, meaning one that starts out and goes round. You wouldn't want to start down here where it's kind of hard to get around it. It's so cute, you guys. Shouldn't have said that. I made a little mistake there. All right, so here's what I'm going to tell you. Sometimes mistakes make you be creative. I think this just became a little girl gingerbread, and I'll put a little bow right there in her hair. Didn't mean to do that to show you guys, but hey, like I said, sometimes it makes you be creative. So some of these will get a little bow in their hair since I made a mistake on that one. Maybe a jingle bell in the bow too. All righty. Uh-oh. We broke a thread. Not to worry. Whenever you rethread, put your foot up. Not your foot, the machine's foot. If you're on a Janome, you're going to put it in lock position before you use that needle threader. Now I'm just going to come back to where it decided to break. Be back a few stitches. Those of you that have been with me for a while know that, as I say, I'm a recovering perfectionist, and life is too short to worry about little things like stitches that no one else can see. Like right there, nobody can see that, and I didn't make that a big deal, and I just overlapped and backstitched there. Just cut that thread. All right, we're going to come over here. And we're going to make sure everything's laying like it's supposed to be. I'll start in a different place this time. I'm still going to go the same way because I've kind of got that under control. You guys can even use that glitzy fabric that can be pressed and ironed on. Interesting. Maybe it's time for a new needle. We'll give it one more shot, you guys. Actually, I'm not going to give it one more shot. I'm going to get a new needle. So on my Janome, I use the purple tip needles, and always make sure that you unscrew the screw enough, not tons, but enough to allow yourself to get this clear up in there again. Kind of just jiggle it a little bit. Make sure you've got it clear up there. Finger tight, and then use the screwdriver. All right, same thing. We'll come back down here to where it decided to go bad on me. While I'm here, I'll just cut out this beginning thread. I do like that green on there. And even in this plain color, you can hardly tell at all where I started and stopped. So let's just move around here. Put my needle back. Needles. All right. I think I will have time to just go ahead and do these other two. So let me tell you while I'm cutting, because I'm cutting out this other one here, that I am cutting just outside the line I drew. Just so it's just, you know, a little bit bigger. Not much. You can see it's not much. Just so you can still see the line. Now, one of the other tools that I'm going to be using, but I don't have with me, believe it or not, you guys, I sold it. It was the last one. It was mine. And the lady wanted it so bad she didn't care if I had already used it a little bit at a show. So I have not gotten my order together yet, and I need to do that quickly. But it's called the Bound to Fit, and it's what we use to do our binding. And I am going to be doing a binding for this particular project so that it's on the bias, because if it's a circle, If you were leaving this a square, you wouldn't need to do that. But because it's a circle, we want it to fit around that circle. So on the diagonal of my fabric, I use 3/4 of a yard, and I cut on the bias. And if you're not sure what that means instead of cutting with the grain, you move off so that you're 45 degrees off grain. So that's how these little guys, this would have been the straight, but that's how these little guys got this way. So for those of you that have never used the bound to fit, this is how I cut it on the bias. And I put all of these edges together, all of the ends, so they're right side up. And then the tool will allow you to cut it exactly on that bias edge. And then you would go to the other end and get all of your ends. Now they're not going to all be the same, because same length, because when you cut it on the bias, you're going to get different lengths. So you see here, I've got some that are going the other way. So when I put these together, I need to put them together so that I can come back here and cut them so they're still all going that same direction. Now, I actually have a YouTube, and for those of you that haven't been on my site there, if you go to Template Quilting with Donnell McAdams, I show you in about a 20-minute video how to use that tool and how to put them on. So it would be definitely worth your time. Like I said, it's about a 20-minute video, and I don't even have that much time on this to do all of that. So it will work out if you just, when you get to that point, go watch that video. And all you have to do is put in bound to fit, and you'll find it very quickly. But I absolutely love that tool. It not only has it so that you put those ends together so easily, it has it so that you can actually put the binding on and then have those ends meet up so that they're on the diagonal. So you're not putting them together in a, what I would call a straight join versus the diagonal join. So it's a very, very useful tool. Like I said, I demonstrate it at every event I go to, and I was sold out, and this lady wanted it so bad. I said, all right, I'll sell you mine. So I have to get another one because I didn't realize that until this morning when I was getting my tools together for this event. Okay, so we got these three. So all I need to do is put them on, and then we'll get them on here, and then we'll move on. So we're going to take this and get my pressing mat. Couldn't think of the name of it. And we'll put it underneath there. Line that up. Make sure everything's good and flat. Get a brown bear here. Don't forget to take the backing off. And we'll just drop him in the slot here. And you know what? If you're a little bit off, it's not going to matter. That's so much fun that you can just lay him in that slot. When Stacy and I were checking in with each other today, she said, are you using the circles and straights tool? And I'm like, well, duh. I always use the circles and straights tool. Absolutely love that tool. So we're going to be using that here in just a moment. Let's go around here and peel off the back. Now, I know some of you are just like, oh, I'd have to go around and stitch those with a zigzag stitch. Well, all I can say is have fun. I'm not taking that much time with it. We're going to drop him in here. Oops. Get back over there, little man. Wow. There we go. Some of you are probably wondering, thinking I've got the fleece side, the press down. How is that not ironing to the ironing board? I'm not leaving it on there that long. So it's not. So here we go with our last little guy. And if you were worried about that, you could use your pressing sheet underneath there. All right. So let's just go ahead and get that mat out from underneath there. I'll let him set a minute. He's not done cooling. How many of you are like me? I'm just tempted to sing the song. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man. And of course, this would be pretty with any of the others. There's the ornament. There's a star. There's a Christmas tree that would be pretty too. All of them. It wasn't evidently the needle. I just turned that corner too fast, I guess. I am using a 90 top stitch, and my thread is a 40 weight. In this case, sulky. I know from having been out on the road a lot this year, you guys kind of like to see the educators have issues. So I'm told anyway, because that makes you feel like, oh, it's not just me. Yes, we have the same issues. Alrighty. One to go. Now you could also embellish your little gingerbread people here. Like I said, I'm going to put a couple bows, I guess, to make up for my one mistake. But you could put little seed beads for eyes or anything like that that you wanted to. So what I'm going to do next, we're finished with that. So I'm going to take that off and I'm going to take this pin out of the center here. Well, talk about sticky. Yes, 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 it was. So I'm going to lay this back. I'm going to take this one off. And we're going to sew that center circle there. So I want to line this up north and south and east and west with my needle. Now hopefully I can find my little piece of fabric. There it is. I'm going to decide how big I want my circle here. So let's get that's crazy. I don't have my ruler. Hang on. I think I'll do about a 5-inch circle there in the center. So what I'm going to do is I've already taken these pieces off. There were little white pieces on there. And I'm going to come to the 5 and I'm going to line up that line across there. There is actually etching marks. And I'm going to line up this line with the 5 and press it in place. Now you don't have to press too hard. That thing will stay very much, I don't know if clung's the word, but clinging to that mat. We're going to pull this in and we're going to put that very center on that pin. So I'm going to find that pin. Almost. There we go. Okay. I'm going to take this foot off and get my regular foot. And put that in place. And again, make sure it's on there. And then I'm going to decide where do I want, I think I want to try and center this. So I'm just going to kind of make it so it's right there in the center of that. And so these go out straight that way because you can see they kind of head straight to the brown bears. All right. And I'm going to put this in place. And I'm just going to rotate to make sure everybody's got a side that's going to work. And then I'm going to put my foot down. I'm going to go first of all back to regular sewing and put my foot down, my needle down. And now right here in front, I'm just going to turn this up so it's going to go through my opening over here on the side. So I'm just going to kind of let it get started. as it comes around. Again, it's a good thing I got a nice big Sew Steady table here, but you can see down here how I'm kind of pulling this in to keep it out of the way. So I'll leave that in place like that so you can see what I'm doing so that it doesn't hit the inside of my machine. And you can see I just kind of put that little white thing right in between my fingers there to support that fabric. And here's where I started, so I'm almost around. And I'm exactly right back where I started, so I'm going to cut that thread. And then you can use like your applique scissors. I have little mini duckbill scissors. I'm going to use my regular duckbills today. The smaller the circle, the more you want to get in there to the mini part. You know what I did? I stowed it with this on there, you guys. Not a good idea. But no, I'm not taking it out. It won't matter. So I'm cutting up next to my stitching. I'm just leaving it on there. I'm catching everything as I come around here. I'm going to cut this off so you can see what I'm doing here. That's that paper. I'll just pull it out. Make sure you're cutting and not like trying to use it like a razor to shave it off, which would mean you would be pushing that. The disadvantage of not taking the paper off. I'm sure somebody screamed at the camera, said, "Take that paper off, Donnell." I didn't hear you, and I'm so sorry. That's what a lint roller's for, you guys, right there. All right, we're almost finished. I hope nobody's counting my mistakes. Now I am going to take just my fingers and just do that to get those out of there because I don't want that on there. All right. Now I'm going to change my thread. Maybe I should unhook that. I'm just getting that paper out. Actually, I didn't want to change my thread yet. That's for the next step. All right. Do I want that color or do I want the dark green? I think I'm going to stay with the same green here. We're going to do a decorative stitch right over what we just did. Now you could use like all kinds of things. If you have a candle wick foot and you wanted to make candle wick stitches around there, you could do that. There's just so many things that you can do. I'm going to take and go into my decorative stitches and pick one out that I think will be pretty. And in this case, I'm going to mirror image it so it goes to the outer edge here. So let's get started. And on this one, basically, you just need to sit back and watch that magic happen, because you're going to go slow enough that you can take the time to pull this back in. And remember, if you don't like the stitch you did, you can always do another one over it to complement it. I think this is going to be really pretty. Got a couple more pieces of paper to pull out there.
Hey, Donnell, we had a couple questions come in. I thought might be a good time to go ahead and.
Sure.
Yeah. So someone was asking what brand of sewing machine switches from ruler to regular quilting?
Well, pretty much all of them. This one does very easy. I'm using a Janome today, but pretty much all of your machines are going to switch once you get everything figured out. They're going to switch pretty easily.
And then someone else was asking if you have to do the feed dogs up or down when you're doing the circle sewing.
The circle sewing, the feed teeth are up.
Okay.
They're working.
And then another question came in. They wanted to know the name of the bias binding tool that you were talking about earlier.
And that is the Bound to Fit tool.
Perfect. And I'll post a link to those items to everyone, just so you can check them out. A couple of those items we do have on our super sale, and you have the opportunity to win. So we'll be posting links on signing up to entering to win those. We're going to be doing a live in a couple weeks where we'll be announcing the winners of all of our holiday giveaways. But we're doing some live giveaways today too. So maybe just let us know if this is a tool that you'd love to have, or what you saw today that you'd love to have. And then we have an announcement today only. We're going to be doing an extra 15% off for anyone that has orders over $100. So now is the time to take advantage of those, maybe the wish list that you have been sitting on of Sew Steady and Westerly Design Tools. So I know a lot of our dealers are also having some amazing deals. So, and you can also choose to pick up in one of our local stores and be able to get free shipping. So all kinds of amazing opportunities there, guys. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of. But today's going to be a great day. This is such an awesome project, Donnell. We had a whole bunch of people saying how much they love this.
Well, I got one more fun thing after this step right here that they're going to really like. So
okay. There was one more question that came in. Someone said, what is the white pin cap in the center?
That is the top of my circle sewing tool. So when this gets around, and you guys, this is really a pretty stitch as soon as I pull out all of this, and that will come out very easily. But you can see right here, it almost looks like a little crown. And so it's going to be a fun stitch. I really am sorry I didn't get that paper pulled out, but things happen. It'll come out and it's going to look good. And it's funny because where I did get it pulled out, it looks really nice around here. And I'll pull it up close to you so you can see it. I'm going to go ahead, as soon as this gets here, I'm going to switch, and I'm going to show you something that just really will be easy enough to do, but adds so much to it. So hang with me, you guys. We're almost to the end, but I want to tell you how easy it is to finish this up. So can you see that there? It's so cute. All right, when it gets back to where it's going to be close to finishing, I'm going to press my finish button or my bullseye on this one. And it's just going to do one more and stop and knot off. Okay, so I'm going to cut that thread, and I'm going to be, well, I think you can see that down here, how cute that little stitch is, because I'm going to be moving it, but I don't want to, well, I can take this off because I know exactly where that spot is. And what I'm going to do, well, I can show you now. See that little stitch without that white thread or that white edge in there? It'll be so pretty. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out, and I'm going to change the color of my thread. So there's my ruler, and I'm going to do a stitch, a 4-inch circle, which will be, it's actually an 8-inch circle. So I'm going to pull this off. When I go to move this, I just kind of swish it sideways like that. We're going out to the 8-inch mark. And I need to change my thread here to white because that's what I'm going to be using. So let's see what I did with my, here it is. I'm actually going to do 2 rows of this. And if you have an M7 or basically any Janome, it's going to probably have this decorative stitch. For me, it's the Q stitch. It's the Q menu. And it is stitch 60. So I'm going to that stitch. And I'm going to use a white thread. And this one happens to be, it's called Exquisite. You stay right there. So I don't need, I got to take my pen out. I'm coming right back to that same spot. So you guys, this is acting like it needs to be refreshed. So I'm not taking any chances. I am going to use some tape because this just was used in a class and I think it needed cleaned. You clean those spots the same way. But I'm not going to take any chances today. Honestly, I've never had to do this before, but that's because I always make sure my stuff is ready to go. So here's my spot. Get everything laying flat. Set my foot down. And here we go. This is such a fun stitch. Can you see it coming out back there, you guys? But again, you can use any foot, any decorative features that you have with your machine, and it's just going to go right in a circle. My plans for this is that I'm going to do 2 more of these rows below the gingerbread people. And then I will put the back on it. And at that point, I can fuse it together because the fusible side is down. And I'm not putting the back right side down on this. I'm putting the back to the back. And then I'll put it back on and stitch my circle. So my circle is probably going to be about 28 inches. And then I will cut it out close to that stitching and then put my binding on. And because my binding was cut on the bias, it's going to go on there very smoothly. So that way you've covered up everything on the back. Let me get my bullseye here. Oh my gosh, you guys. Oh, you're going to just be amazed. Look at that. It came right back to where it started. That is just plain luck, you guys. And it's knotted off, so I can just cut that. But doesn't that add so much to that?
That looks so good. And it's just meant to be. It was supposed to connect perfectly.
Yeah. So what my plan is I'm going to take that off. I'm going to move it out. So I do 2 more rows out here. So they'll be like maybe 1 inch apart. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the backing on. And then I will straight stitch the big 28-inch circle, cut up next to it. And then that binding, which I know I had here, where did I put it? Is going to go on. And what I'm going to do, everyone, is after I cut that circle, I'm going to put the binding on the back and turn it to the front, and then do a very tiny, probably what I would call the applique stitch, but it's the one that does like 2 stitches forward and then bites into the fabric. And that way it will hold it down, but I don't have to do my hand stitching around there. So I know my time is gone, but I just want to oh, there it is. Let me show you this, okay? So when I go to put this together, because I have cut this with that tool, this stuff just lays perfect. So this would go like this. So all I'm going to do is be putting this together like that. And I will sew my 1/4 inch and then lay it back and press it. And then after I do the whole long thing, fold it in half and press it, but make sure you don't stretch it because it's on the bias. And then out here on the edge, we're going to pretend we have a circle cut out here. You're just going to start stitching it around that circle. Oops, it'll be on the backing now. and then you'll flip it around to the front, and you'll have like that much showing. And that much there, then because it's cut on the bias, it will just go right back together, and you can stitch that in. Now, Stacy, I don't know if you want to come back to me at the end of your day and I'll finish this up. That would be perfect.
Do.
Okay.
I do.
All right. So
I
I'll
think
just,
everybody else wants me to too, Donnell. So
okay.
it's not just me that wants to see this.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll work on getting my 2 other rows of decorative stitching, and then I'll be ready to show you how to finish it up.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, we're so excited. I feel like you showed some amazing tools today. And so I'm going to go ahead and I've got a little banner going across the bottom here on taking advantage of maybe some of the items you have in your wish list right now. Maybe you've been wanting one of those wish tables. Today is the day to do it, guys. We're giving you an extra 15% off today only. And, you know, as we were sitting here, I thought, I want to do something extra special for everyone today. So we're going to do an extra 15% off if you purchase today only. You can still pick up in a store near you and get free shipping. So if you have a store near you that you can do the web direct to option, I would definitely encourage that because obviously there's so many great tools that we're going to be sharing with everybody. So Donnell, we're coming back to you. We've got another amazing educator ready to come on. I think we answered all the questions that came up. Someone wanted to know about the binding tape, and I told them about that R&K tape. I know it's available at most stores, Donnell. I didn't know if you had any other suggestions.
And if not, ask for it, because most places are carrying that stuff now. So it's the R&K embroidery perfection tape.
Okay, yeah. And then someone else asked about buying just the sticky thing, and I'm thinking maybe it's just the tool or just the mat. And yes, you can buy replacements on both of those, so no problem there. If you're referring to the circles and straights tool and mat, you can get those separately as well. I'll post links to those items too. All right. So thanks again, Donnell. We're going to go ahead and have our next educator come on. But yeah, we'll see you later. Can't wait. All right. So we have got Carrie here. Hi, Carrie. Thank you so much for joining us. So I think that I can't. There you are. I couldn't hear you.
Can I hear me?
I can hear you now. Perfect.
I'm here in beautiful snowy Michigan, and I just looked out the window and it's snowing right now. So it's a winter wonderland here, which means it's the perfect time for crafting, quilting, sewing, and having fun with our sewing room and all of our Sew Steady and Westerly products that just make sewing and creating magical, and a winter wonderland.
I love it. Well, I was just going to do one more thing. I was going to remind everyone to keep commenting. We're going to be doing a couple of giveaways here at the end. So just tell us what your favorite tool was that you just saw by Donnell. And then we'll be announcing some winners towards the end of today. So today there's going to be more items that we're going to have you're going to be showing today too, Carrie. So I'm going to have you, show off your things. And then every time you guys see something you're excited about, just put it in the comments. And then we're going to be doing some of those giveaways later. So, all right, I'm going to let you take it away. You've got an amazing project. No more.
Are you ready for me to take it away?
Yes. All right. I think Carrie's got a great pause face there, but I'm not sure her reception is super great, unfortunately. Let's see. All right, so.
Hello, are you there?
We're back.
Having a little bit of trouble, I think, with some of the ice that's forming on some of our internet lines right now. So if I fade in and out, that's what's going on.
Okay, well, I'll be here, and then if something comes up, we can try again a little bit later too. We've got some other educators that can probably hop on. So we'll just check and see how it's going. Okay, you take it away.
excited to be able to be here with all of you because this is, of course, as I say, the winter wonderland, the perfect time for us to just hole up in our sewing rooms, she sheds, whatever you want to call your special space where you get to be creative and enjoy being innovative and discovering all the new features, all the new products that we have here with Westerly. And I am just so excited because I have a whole wonderful setup that I'll try and show you some of the things that I've got set up here in my sewing room that I'm going to be showing and talking about here. So let me just get the camera set back up. I'm going to be sewing today on my FOF Creative Icon 2. And one of the things that I really like to do is to take different sewing crafting techniques that are traditionally supposed to be done for one type of project and put it into something else. Like if I take quilting and put it into clothing, or if I take embroidery and put it into home dec. And so what I've done is I have actually taken heirloom sewing and I have made a Christmas project, but it actually can work for any of our holidays that we're going to be looking at, and made it into a home decorating project that you can easily do for your holiday table that you're going to be having. And it is taking a technique called Madira applique and making it into placemats. And this is a very fun technique because this placemat is actually reversible, so that you're actually getting two different looks all for one. The nice thing is that each one of these placemats, actually, the fabric that's used in them comes from fat quarters. So you're not like having to buy oodles and oodles of fabric in order to be able to enjoy making some of these. And you can even take some of this fabric and make something to coordinate in the way of napkins to go with them. So how do you do something like this and have it be quilted and have it be something fun and different for you to do? Well, there are lots and lots of different ways you can enjoy doing something like this with your sewing machine and with our Westerly embroidery projects. The first thing you're going to do is set your machine up for embroidery, because we're going to be talking about the Westerly embroidery, and doing some of the design work that we're going to do with that. Now, I have mine set up right now for
Hi
doing
everybody,
hooped
Pam Varner
embroidery.
here.
Am I there?
You are. Sorry about that.
Selected a variegated thread that I am using both in the needle as well as in the bobbin to be able to do this project. And it's fun to be able to use some of these creative threads when you're doing a project like this. And it doesn't have to be matchy thread. You can do different threads in your needle and in your bobbin. You might have to adjust your tension a little bit because you are going to be quilting through 3 layers of fabric and batting. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your outside piece of fabric, you're going to fold it in half, you're going to trace on what's going to be the outline on the fold, and then you're going to sew along the outline using wash away thread in your bobbin. Now, wash away thread. Make sure you put it on in your bobbin and you label that bobbin carefully so you don't get it mixed up with other white thread bobbins that you might have, because when you get it wet, poof, it vanishes and it's gone, and it can be rather embarrassing if you suddenly put it into something like a swimsuit. That would be very, very embarrassing on your vacation that you might be taking on a cruise in January. So label it and then store it in a plastic bag so that it is not going to be getting damp or wet, especially if you live someplace like Eugene, Oregon, where you get a little misty and rainy sometimes, don't you, Stacy? We don't have that so much here in Michigan. We have snowflakes instead. So you just stitch all the way around the outside of this. Then you take your scissors, and I'm going to change the angle a little bit so that you can see, and you just trim out the center. At about 1/4 of an inch. And you can do a whole multitude of different designs to do this shape that's going to be your picture window. So even though traditionally, when this is done the way our dear Martha Pullen has shown us so many times as the heirloom queen that we have all known and loved for many, many decades, we have been able to do something that's not going to look like a little girl's dress at the end. I'm going to just nip into the corners because we're going to be turning this. Now I had pinned it so that it was going to be nice and stable, but I'm going to take these pins out now. And we're going to turn it so that now the right side is out. And so I didn't really want to bring my iron here into the room with us. So what I've done is I have gone ahead and I have already pressed it here. And when you press it, you soak it with spray starch. And what the spray starch does is it not only gives you a very firm line along here, it melts out the wash away thread so that you can then open this up and there's your window. So now we want to fill that window with some kind of different fabric, don't we? So that we're going to have this be like a picture. See, pretty little picture. Now, what I like to do is I take, once again, a nice little product that I use a lot of, wash away stay tape. And it's something that comes in a roll like this. This is a very nice, handy product to have in your handbag, by the way, because if you're ever going to lose a hem, you can use this to stick up a hem, you know, in the middle of the day, or do a quick little repair if you have something here that just needs one to pop out and show. But by doing that, you're then in a position where you can just lay this down now on top of the fabric that you're going to be using for your window, and it will stick on there. Now, once again, I've jumped ahead a little bit, and this is a chance when you can use all your beautiful stitches, because don't all of our machines these days have lovely, lovely decorative stitches? And we sometimes sit here and scratch our heads and go, what am I going to do with all those decorative stitches? Stitch, pick any one you want, and stitch right around the outside to secure the fabric that's going to be there in the window. And then create your sandwich that you're going to be making, where you have your backing, your batting, and your picture window that you're going to have. And this is a great opportunity to be able to use some of these pieces of batting that you have been collecting when you have cut off edges around quilts that you've been making, and you've had spare bits and you don't really know exactly what to do with them, but they're too big for you to throw away and you don't know necessarily what you're going to do with them. This is a great opportunity for you to be able to put them together. And then you're ready to do the beauty of what we can do with our Westerly embroidery designs. And we have so many wonderful collections that we have I believe they're on special today too, so that we can have them for you to be able to enjoy and be able to really be able to be creative with, because they come in all sorts of different collections. One of my very favorites to get started with is the Edge to Edge collection #1. This collection has hundreds, literally hundreds of different designs that you can use in here. Many of these are edge to edge designs that you can use continually to make beautiful, beautiful designs all over a quilt. We also have our Starry Night collections, which I have been using in the finished project that I have done. In this quilt, where you can see the moons and the stars, which I thought was a little Christmassy. We have a feather collection. We have other collections that are going to be released early in 2025, so watch out for those, because I'll tell you, they're exciting, but you can use them to create all kinds of beautiful collections, combining them with individual designs. And then, of course, we have our fabulous connectors, where you take these tools and you can use them to connect the edge-to-edge designs so that they flow beautifully throughout the entire quilt that you may be working on, or whatever quilted project that you're working on. These have really creatively set me on fire. And I know that once you try them, they look a little strange at first. I mean, you know, when you look at the sort of the shape of it, it's kind of interesting shape. But once you start playing with these and combining them with your hooped embroidery, you'll say, I'm never going back to having a long arm person do my quilting ever again. So now we're ready to actually hoop this, and we're going to actually set the machine up, because I'm going to show you just how quickly it is to be able to do one of these embroideries. So what we're going to do is I am going to take, in this case, one of my magnetic hoops. Now, most sewing machines do have magnetic hoops that are now available for those machines. If not, of course, you can use your standard hoops very easily. So, my computer screen. So I'm going to move this in a little closer so that we can see. On my USB drive, I have a whole series of different designs that I have, and I'm going to go into my Starry Nights designs. And on this, you can see there are all different kinds of languages that come with the USB with this. And you see, they come in different sizes, like a 10 by 14, an 11 by 16, a 6 by 10, an 8 by 12. All of these designs come in different sizes to fit the different kinds of hoops that are there for your particular embroidery machine. Now I'm going to select this one design right here, which is SN1A by 6 by 10. And it's coming on the screen. I'm going to need to actually rotate this design a little bit too big. And this machine, fortunately, does have a resize function built into it. You can also do this, of course, if you have software. So come on, grab that corner and bring it down so that it will fit like that. I touch OK. And then I'm going to touch stitch out. And I am going to set it at this point where I. Okay, now it's saying that it's a little bit too large still, so I need to go back. And I have to select the design and I have to resize it just a little bit more. Sometimes these machines are so much smarter than we are. There. And now the machine is going to move into position. And with my magnetic hoop, what I do is I attach the hoop to my embroidery arm. I can decide at this point, where do I want to have this embroidery design stitch out? And I'm going to do it right dab smack in the middle. So all I do is I find the points. And I'm going to take these safety pins out now because I don't want to be not a good idea. I've got to take a few more out. Oh, I think I'm going to have to move it to get this one. Right, and now I am going to go ahead and I'm going to just check my corners just to make sure that I've got everything out of the way. Oh, I think I'll take this one out as well. Oh, and I think I'll take this one out as well. And by the way, I am using a brand new embroidery needle. This happens to be a gold 9014 needle that I'm using. And I am using an embroidery needle at this time rather than a sharp tipped needle because of the fact that this is machine embroidery that I'm doing, and it is a single running stitch that is going to be making this design. I am at this point now getting the machine set. I'm going to bring up the bobbin thread. I'm going to start the machine. It's going to stop at this point for me to trim this thread because I ask it to do that. And in 2 minutes, this design is going to be. I think think that it is absolutely wonderful how quickly now we can get something accomplished. Exactly how we might want it. And I just really enjoy the fact that I'm the one who's being the creative person in this case. 1 minute to go, because it's a total of 815 stitches to do this entire design. And voila, that design is now completely done. Now it did clip my thread, so I can just now, because this is one of the metal magnetic hoops, I can just remove the magnets. And in this case, what I can do is I can now just slide my placemat over to what would be the next section, put on the magnets, make sure I'm taking these pins out, because once again, I really don't want to sew over my safety pins. Check my corners. And I can see right now that I can see that it's not. But if I were a little concerned, this machine actually does have a special scanning feature that is built into it with a projection so that I can actually look and see where the design is going to be stitching out on here. So I can tell exactly where the design is going to be placed. And it's ready now for me to be able to do the next section. And it's almost like magic, isn't it? And here you can see how the variegated threads are really picking up. Okay. Okay, 1 minute to go. And this and I think that it is a nice one to use for Christmas because it does have such a wonderful feeling of the magic of the Christmas Eve night. And then we can just take those off. And there we have that. And when we look at the reverse, there it is quilted on the back side as well. It would be very easy, you can see, can't you, to be able to do one of these whole placemats in maybe about a half an hour's time. And then you're ready to just take some binding that you can be baking in another complementary color and put the binding on so that you have a quilted placemat that is completely reversible. Now, what you can also do at this time, though, is you can actually then take off your embroidery arm, or if you happen to have one of these machines that will allow you to sew with your embroidery arm attached, you can just actually set your machine for regular sewing. Which is what I'm going to do now. I am going to remove my ankle that has my embroidery foot on it. So that I can attach my actual ruler foot. And of course, sometimes it's faster getting the foot on and off than other times. And this happens to be one of the times when it's taking its little sweet time. But you know, if you rush some of these things, then they go all kind of colowampus on us. Go. Look and find where exactly did I put my ruler foot that I did just have out here. Because it's always when you need something, there it is, that it's always the hardest to find it, isn't it? Now, Westerly makes ruler feet that work specifically for specific machines, which I do love, but we also make ones that are adjustable for both. And this one I am using today happens to be one of the adjustable ones for I have a setting for ruler foot. So it will perfectly now set the foot for ruler foot. Set my foot. Going to use this as a connector. To do a different kind of free motion to fill in the areas around where I could be doing, so that I don't necessarily have the gaps right here around, so that we can use these in combination with our actual embroidery designs. So how much fun is all of that as a quick, fun, easy holiday project that you can do for any holiday? All you have to do is think of the fabric. Easter, buy Easter fabric. Valentine's Day, buy Valentine's fabric. 4th of July, red, white, and blue. Or if you wanted to think about Halloween, do something a little spooky maybe. So that's something that's a quick, easy project that you can do that's an easy one. Now I have something else that I am working on, but it's a work in progress because I really only started it yesterday. And that is something that I am doing for one of my granddaughters as a Christmas outfit for her to wear next week. And I found a pattern that I actually made for my daughter and going through for what would be a pretty little blouse vest to make for her. And I was thinking, I wanted to do something that would be a little bit different. So what I'm doing is I am making it as a quilted vest. So I have taken the two pieces of the front and the back, and what I did was I took a collection of Christmas fabrics that I have, and I made them together into a log cabin print where I have a pretty white on white, it's a pine print. Not sure if you can see that all that well, that are going to be the two panels that are going to be the front, of this pretty little top. And then I'm going to have, nope, that's not, that was a placemat. And then I'm going to have the back in the wonderful green with the white. But I'm going to be quilting the whole piece using the edge to edge and the connectors in order to make a wonderful little quilted vest for her to be able to wear. That way it will be a little bit warmer for her, but it'll still be something that will be just a little Christmassy and a little bit special. But if I were to be using batting, it might be a little too warm for her. So what I recommend, if you're going to be using something for garment construction, use flannel instead of batting between your layers of your cotton. But being able to put together pieces of fabric, even if it's something like this log cabin, it's a great way of using up some of your pieces that you have of laying around fabric that, you know, you can be innovative and creative with. Or you can use solid pieces. You can use variegated threads. You can do all kinds of magical things. In this case, what I'm going to probably do is I'm going to use one of my larger hoops to hoop. And I'm going to do the entire piece of fabric at once. And so I will be combining designs on the screen, or if you have software, you can do them in your software. Phew, excuse me, there's that flannel getting to my nose. And being able to then cut out the pattern so that I will be able to match where the log cabins all line up. So I have to say that being able to do these wonderful edge to edge in combination with the regular Westerly embroidery designs that are individual designs and putting them together with the combination of the edge to edge and the regular designs, your creativity can go anywhere. And then when you take the connector pieces that we have and being able to join up in some of those little areas where you just need to fill things in a bit, it's all up to you and how much magic you want to create. And the fact is that it doesn't have to be a quilt. It can be anything you want it to be, whether it is a vest, whether it is something home deck, or whether it is a blanket that you can be sharing and enjoying. So that's what I have to offer today. How about whatever questions you might have to ask for me? Anybody have any questions? We have about a half an inch of snow. That's one question maybe somebody wanted to ask.
Hi, Carrie. So I can't hear you. Can you hear me? This is my first test here. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So Stacy, it looks like, has stepped away from her little Christmas holiday hosting duties there for just a second. So since I'm following you, I'm just going to kind of trot on in behind you. I grew up in Michigan. Oops, I lost you. Your voice is cutting in and out on me.
Ice.
Yeah, I grew up in Michigan. I do not miss that snow and ice. I now live outside of San Diego, and nope, I'm done with that. I visit it for the holidays, and that's my extent of the snow these days. So let me, since I think we're running a little bit behind time, and I'm not sure who's behind me, let me go ahead and get started with my section, and then we'll see if Stacy pops back in a little bit later. All right, thanks. Oh, look at that, ladies. I have cord in my way. I have had some technical problems this morning, so we are going to rock and roll with this, even though the lighting isn't exactly what I normally have, and I refuse to have this cord in my face. I don't know how I missed that before. So let me find a way to clip that out of the way. Ha, these little green clips, they are good for everything that ails you. Okay, thank you for that. So I did some of the embroidery too. I mean, Christmas projects are something that we always want to have going on. And so we all came up with different projects, and I actually used the same Starry Nights designs that Carrie did, but I used them out of the regular Starry Nights collection and not from the Edge to Edge collection. So my designs, came out of the original Starry Nights collection, but it's out of the bonus designs that came with there. So the Starry Nights collection, we've added to a couple of times if you don't happen to know that. So what we've done with Starry Nights is originally, if you've got that full collection, we added all of the numbers to go with the alphabet. And then we've also come along and added some mini designs in there. We had mini designs in our original embroidery collection, and we added some of those to the Starry Nights too. So what we've done is taken the original, just the basic shapes, the stars and the moons and the suns, and turned them into single standalone embroidery designs. I see a note about no sound no, okay. So what I did for my little project here is I have a bunch of panels that have been hanging around for a while. And what I did is I cut this one down to about half size, so it's just a little bit easier to show. And what I did is, due to my computer problems, I cannot show you what I did yesterday, which was embroidering on the panel. So what I will do is show you. Here's my panel right here that I did. And I took the original Starry Nights designs, the small ones. We call them kind of the itty bitties, but they're about 2 to 2.5 inches in size right here. Here's one here. There's another one. I've got some down here in the corner. And I stitched those out individually. What I really did is I took a USB to my embroidery machine and I just scattered them throughout the hoop. So what I ended up with, I did this with a dark fabric on the background so that you could see. After I stitched everything out, this is kind of what I ended up with. I picked my biggest hoop for my machine, and in there just kind of dropped the designs into my embroidery edit, resized them sometimes, rotated them, and just kind of positioned them randomly throughout there. I wanted a little bit more to go with it, so that's where the Starry Nights, actually they're not from Starry Nights, but the edge-to-edge templates are going to help me connect all these together to make one complete continuous design out of there. What I did notice as I was stitching it out is that I used my biggest hoop, but I did end up with this little weird area right here where there are no stars in there. So that's why I went and pulled out my Starry Nights templates. When I get to this portion, I'm going to kind of mix and match a little bit because this star is probably about 2.5. And this star is going to finish at 2 inches. So you can see this is a place where you can really truly mix and match back and forth the designs between the embroidery, the embroidery designs, and your ruler work templates. I tend to like using embroidery wherever I can get away from it with it. It's a little bit faster for me than doing the templates is. I stitched out one entire hooping in 8 minutes, and it would have taken me more than 8 minutes to do all of those embroidery, to do all of that ruler work using just the templates. I know that you can use the DMQ, the DM basic marker to kind of grid out your quilt when you're looking at doing freehand templates combined with these connectors. What I did on my embroidery machine is I just turned the grid on. I brought the background grid up and showed that and had that on there and then positioned the designs. I did that so that I'd know approximately how far apart each of the different designs was. I didn't want them to be right next to each other, but I really didn't want them further than I could probably do in one connector to connect from one edge to the next. Let me just tell you also that when I did the embroidery, this is the edge of my quilt top right here. I can't hoop that close to the edge, so I actually had an entire yard of my backing fabric on here, and then so I could hoop the entire thing, and I basted it down along the outside edge. I'm about 1/8 of an inch away from the outer edge of the panel, and when I'm 1/8 of an inch away from the outer edge of the panel, I'm probably going to be able to leave that in there because it should be covered by the binding when I get there. So this is, we're going to work from the back, which I don't do, but that's where you can see the quilting that I'm going to add using the two different connectors. This one does curves. So you can start right here in this point and then follow the curve along, and it will naturally stop into this little point right here. You can stop really anywhere you like along there. You don't have to quilt from the first edge to the last edge. This one is what I call the loop-de-loop template, because what we're going to do is start at this edge, quilt all the way up into this stop point right here, and then flip the template and then come back out of there. So we'll get little loop-de-loos in there, just like this one that they're showing us right here. I do like to kind of know where I'm going when I do this, so that I don't back myself into a corner, but I'm not going to overthink it. So what I'm really just going to do is take my Chaco liner here and mark where I'm going to start, which is going to be right here. And then I'm going to go from this star to this one to that one. Then I'm going to come over to here, up into the corner, down out of the corner. I usually don't try and go as linear as that, but that's kind of the path that I just laid out for myself right here. And then I always like to start off the edge of my project when I'm using ruler work. It just gives me more of that illusion of a full edge to edge. So like everything, what I did when I quilted this on my embroidery machine is I used the same white cotton thread that I have here in my sewing machine, in the needle and in the bobbin when I did that. And now that I'm over to my sewing machine, I've got the same thread in the top and a matching thread in the bobbin. Have changed out to that top stitch needle so that I've got enough room to be able to use the template without skipping stitches. And I've checked the height of the ruler foot against my fabric to make sure that it slides all around there. If you're not comfortable with that, I always just slide a business card underneath there. And if the business card can move freely, then that is going to make sure that the foot can also move freely. You don't want to be dragging your foot along the fabric, but you also don't want it high enough that the fabric kind of comes up and down and rides the needle a little bit. So I'm going to start back here in this corner. Since I know where I want to finish, that is this point right here on the star, I'm going to slide that underneath my foot and drop the needle right there. I'm just holding the spot. So now you can see that with this edge to edge template, the connector template, I can hook the template around the edge of the foot and kind of rotate around there so that I can choose where I want to start with. This template has 3 different sides, and every side has a slightly different shape to it. So we've got kind of 3 curves for the price of 1 right here, and it's a great size to just fit in your hand. I work on a machine that's got a 9-inch arm, so I like these templates that are more palm size because I can use them to the inside and the outside of the needle in whatever direction makes sense to me. So what I'm going to do to get started is I've hooked it around my foot right there, and I'm going to start kind of back here. I know I'm off the edge of the quilt because I can see my basting right there. Lifting up my foot, I'm going to clear that. Keeping my hands on here though means make sure that I'm going to finish where I want it to finish, right at the point on that star. So I can come all the way out here off the edge of the quilt. I lost my thread there, so we'll do that one more time. Needle down, needle up. Sorry guys, I have a phone around here. There we go. That is my 12 o'clock warning. So there's my needle down and up. I can tug that thread up. I can see the bottom thread right here. You might not be able to see it, but it is right there. And since I'm afraid I'm going to lose it, let me come in here with my tweezers and pull a nice long tail. I like long tails that I can hold on to. In the grand scheme of things, thread's pretty cheap. So I like a nice long tail that I can actually get my hands around. Drop that needle back in there. I've got my tails right here. This entire time I've been keeping pressure over here. So that hasn't been able to move at all. And here is part number 1. So starting out here off the edge of the quilt, just running right along the edge of that curve. And what I did is I stopped exactly where I wanted to, right on the point of that star, which you can't see especially well, but trust me when I tell you that I did it. So from here, I can loop onto here. I wanted to come over to this star right here. I wanted to come over to this star right here. To make a fully continuous path, I can come right out of this star point right here and use my templates. It looks like it'll take me kind of 2 paths to get there, and come over and grab one of the points, or really any place on this one right here. So if you want and the reason that I like that is because I am going to have one continuous path of stitching. So I'm going to show you right here. I'm not going to break the thread. I am going to try and fill some of this extra space. So I've switched to a different curve, although that one's not going in the direction that I want it to go in. So I'm going to use this one instead, I think. And kind of come on out of there. I'm not going to go all the way to the end, but what I can do is kind of redirect just by sliding the template around while keeping it attached to the foot. So I'll have a little bit of a transition point right here, but it will let me keep going. And if I stop everything right there and spin things around, this is where I switched from one angle to the next, and it's really hard to see. I can find it because I'm looking for it, but if you do that on your own, it's just going to slide right by everybody. No, it's one of those things that nobody will know is there but you. And then I can, let's see, actually I'm going to come down to here because that's a more natural path. And then right along here. And then I'm just short of being able to make it into this little point right here. So we're going to go a little bit further, keeping the edge of the ruler pressed against the edge of the foot, and then come so that I will catch this point right here. And of course, the best way to make sure that you're going to stop where you need to is by using your spacing gauge. So this is the 1/4 inch edge of my spacing gauge. The needle is a 1/4 inch away from the foot. So if I need to figure out where I need to rotate this so that I can catch that star point right here, that's what the spacing gauge will do for me. I can set it right there at the edge of the star point and rotate the template in. And this is a 1/4 inch between the edge of the stitching and the edge of the template. So I will stop exactly where I want to, right there on the point of the star. So I've kind of wiggled my way over, not having to free motion anything. I used the templates to get there, so I did not have to use any free motion skills. I just got to use the templates instead. So I'm much more confident in what I'm doing because I have taken my little chalk line and marked out my path ahead of time. And now I have rulers that I can trace the edges of to make sure that I get good, nice curves without any jumps in them and a lot of stops and starts. And I've done this all so far as one big path. So I can come out of here. I like the loop-de-loos. They are good for changing your direction. So I'm going to come, this is going to be a little itty bitty tiny one. I'm going to try and come back to this star right here. So let me show you how those loop-de-loos work. I have it and I'm using the A one right now. It says I'm using the A right there. It says to stop and start in this corner right here. So what I'm going to do is start on this edge. You can start out at the far edge. You can start anywhere you want. I do have some stitching right here that I know I need to stay away from. So that is where my spacing gauge is going to come back and be handy again. You can see right here, I've got a star point that is off the edge of the template right there. And if I put my spacing gauge there, I can see that I will be stitching over that star point. So to avoid that, I am just going to spin it in a little bit. And now I can use my spacing gauge and be confident that I will not be stitching over that star. And I've also got a line of stitching coming in right here, and I'll be 1/4 of an inch off of that one as well. So here is the first part of the loop-de-loop, is coming and quilting right into that corner right there. So I've tucked my foot right into the corner here. And now, sorry, I did that a little bit too fast. Now you take your template and you turn it upside down. So if you could read the letters before, you cannot read the lettering now. And you hook that back around your foot again. I've checked right here. I'm not going to go over any of my previous stitching. And I'm just going to tell myself I'm heading towards this point right here. I can't quite get there, so I'll have to reposition the template a little bit. But what I can do is make sure that I'm about 1/4 of an inch away from there. So now I'm going to come out of this loop-de-loo, just like that. And now I'm partway down. I'm just going to take it off altogether. So you can see here is where I came out. Here's the loop-de-loo. I'll show you that better in a second. And I'm heading towards this right here. So if I was using this template, all I need to do to make it get to the edge where I need it to is take my spacing gauge again, put it right there on the edge of the star, and find a place where it feels comfortable. So I did it so that I looked like, and I'm sorry you can't see this very well, but I hope it's going to be a smooth transition from what I've already stitched. I know it's going to end up right here because I used my spacing gauge. And there we go. I've landed right at that star point. So the loop-de-loos, here is the loop-de-loo right here. You can see I came into it in this direction, and then I turned the template upside down and I rotated it so to come out of it. I like this because I can redirect my stitching into lots of different directions, just depending on how I position it as I'm connecting off to it and coming back out. So it's really all just a practice of moving from one piece to the next, connecting them, filling in some of the empty spots. I am going to go ahead and break my thread right here. Hold on, it didn't. If I was going to be finished, I would pull that bobbin thread up and go for it and bury all the threads. But what I can show you is that I have one of my templates here, and I have my edge-to-edge connectors right here. So remember this kind of dead space in the middle that I showed you? Well, I'm going to be able to fill that using one of my Starry Nights templates and both of these edge-to-edge connectors. So there are some places where the embroidery designs kind of have a hard time going. Sometimes just depending on the size of your hoop and how you're hooping things. I wanted to do this all in 2 hoopings, so I knew I was creating this dead spot across the middle. So now I'm going to fill the dead spot instead of doing a 3rd hooping and having to figure out on my embroidery machine where to position designs so that they were in the middle. I'm just going to grab my template and I'm going to put it where I know it is in the middle. And I do this kind of a little bit looser than some people. I know that I want that template probably right about in that zone right there. So I'm going to kind of mark a little X marks the spot. I'm going to come from this star, come over to somewhere about right here, and then quilt this star. And then I'm going to come back and connect that to the top half, the 1st hooping. So let's go ahead and do that. Starting right here. I'm starting on the project. So this one I can drop the needle. Pull up that bobbin thread. I have them both. Drop that needle back down again. And now I'll position the template around there. I am going to use one of the shorter ones this time. I don't use this one often, so I'll go ahead and use that one. Spacing gauge again. I've lost my spacing gauge, so I always, there it is. Here's my spacing gauge again. I know I want to hit this X right here. So really it's, if I knew I needed to be precise, then I could use my spacing gauge right there on the X and know that my template needed to be right there. But this is not a precise measurement. So I can use my spacing gauge if it makes me more comfortable, or I can choose to not. So I've measured it a little bit there. Here's my tails. So I'm just going to quilt part way over, starting in this corner. I love these corners for stopping and starting. Come over and just stop roughly on that X that I marked. Set that template to the side. Bring in my Starry Nights templates. If you're not familiar with the Starry Nights templates, this little groove right here is pretty magic because you can slide the template into the ruler foot into there, but by lifting up on the foot, you can get through this groove also. So I can slide right through there without breaking any threads and quilt my star. So here's this filler star right here. And it's just going to come around and around, around. And when I get back to the beginning again, stop with the needle down, slide that template off and set it to the side. And now I can just go for a new template or go back to a template and get this one so I can loop-de-loo and connect back over here. It's taking time just because I'm talking to you about what I'm doing. When I actually sit down and do it, it goes super fast. So here I've taken it, stitched into the corner, take the template off, flip it upside down, hook it back around again, And this time I do need my spacing gauge because I know that I need to hit this point right here. So this one, if I rotate it around, it's long enough that I'm not going to have to stop part way and reposition. So I just need to take my spacing gauge, put it on the corner of the star, rock the template into it, set the spacing gauge. Oops, I kind of rocked out of my corner there a little bit. Let me do that again. I moved the template a little bit this way, so it was off the ruler foot. So let me stay on the ruler foot, spin it into place, come on back. Oops. And now I've come to this point right here. So then I can just keep on going and connect this star point to here using another loop-de-loo into the corner, stop, take it out, flip it upside down, and then I have my, sorry, I didn't take that one far enough around. So this one, I started with the template going in the wrong direction. So it's going to go out in this direction, and I want it to come out in this direction. So we will just kind of adapt right here and hopefully kind of continue that curve. Come back around this way and make it look like we just kind of pivoted right there and come back to right here. So this is pretty free-form quilting. It doesn't require you to do a lot of accurate measuring. It doesn't require you to do precise measuring. You do need to hit these points, but using your spacing gauge, that is a piece of cake to be able to stop and start at these correct points. It's so easy to use these templates. I know that I didn't think I was going to be using this template since I do a lot more embroidery than I do ruler work quilting, but I actually am. I'm finding that these are a fantastic bridge between the embroidery and making things connect edge to edge. I even have a plan where I'm going to use some of these to fill in some piano keys sashing on another project that I've got in the wings for myself. So let me just kind of cut the threads there and show you. So here is the loop-de-loop that I did. Ignore that. That was me doing a personal bobble. And right here is where I realized I had the connector going in the wrong direction. So I was still able to make a nice continuous curve with some redirection in there and connect over to another part of the design. And when I turn this back right side up, this is kind of the area that we were working in right here. So here is the star that I added and connected to this moon and connected to this star. And so I've got a nice loose free form design. I really like getting edge to edge projects done, or really just about anything done with the edge to edge templates, because they're a little bit looser than the rest of the designs are. They've got more space in them, so I get things done quickly instead of quilting something. Sometimes I don't need something to be quilted super densely. I just need it to be quilted so that I can move on. Whatever your batting can take is the closest that you have to quilt. You don't have to quilt everything to death. Sometimes I like things to be quilted.
Hi everybody, Pam Varner here.
Hi, Pam. So that is my part of the project right here. This was my quick Christmas gift, quick holiday gift. You can make a wall hanging for somebody. This is going to probably end up being a little baby quilt, but I think that Pam is up behind me. Am I right, Pam?
Yeah, well, we do have Pam coming on live here. I was just she pre-recorded a video, but she's also here live to share. So we'll be able to have her tell everybody what's going on with her project as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go and have her get started then.
Thank you so much, Deb. So just as a reminder, everyone, we're going to be giving away some amazing tools today. So if you have the opportunity to let us know what gets you most excited about the projects you've seen today, make sure to put it into the comments. We'll be giving away our tools at the end of our live. We've just got about an hour left. So you definitely want to try to stick around if you can so we can get you in the drawing. We'll be picking one tool from each presentation. And guys, we had 5 presentations today. So 5 different projects we're going to be sharing with you. We've got Pam on live now. So Pam, I will go ahead and let you share with us a little bit about your project and what you're going to be doing today for everyone. And then I will take it away to your presentation. Oh, you're muted, Pam.
There, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
So, look, I have a light stick. It's actually connected to my computer. Usually I keep it connected to my sewing machine. This is a great thing, by the way, to clean out your sewing machine. It's like having, yeah, that's why I always keep it around. So it's kind of always around, and just a little tip, you can use your light stick to help clean out your sewing machine, especially if you sew at night and you're having to clean it at night. But just really quick, like it comes on really bright. And then if you hold the button, the little button right there, if you hold it, it goes dimmer. And then you turn it off. And then when you tap it on, it comes back bright again. So it always comes back bright. So just hold it and it dims. So my project, and I actually talk about it in the beginning of the video, is, and I don't even have it with me, is I made a paper pieced Christmas tree, and I used the light stick underneath the table, so I turned the table into a light box. Because if you've ever done paper piecing, you have those lines, and sometimes it's hard to see, so you end up holding it up to a window or whatever. You have your light stick underneath your table, you have a beautiful light table. So we're going to do some paper piecing, and that's what we're doing. And if Stacy, do you have the paper piece pattern?
I do. So I was going to share that with everyone, and then I was going to share the final picture so they get an idea of what you're going to be sharing with everyone today. So this is the paper pieced project that Pam is going to be taking you through today. And she's got a free gift. She's got the paper piecing. So I'm going to give a link to everybody so they can take advantage of this as well. So that's heading over to your the live stream right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away in the video if that works for you.
That's perfect. Before you start the video, I just want to know how many people use pink this year, because that's all I see when I go out shopping is pink Christmas decorations.
Oh, no way. Okay, I'm curious too.
I'm not even kidding. So if you've been out and you've seen pink, or you've got pink in your house for Christmas, I want to know about it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I have to tell you, after I watched your paper piecing class that I'm about to show everyone, I want to learn how to paper piece. It looks so easy, Pam. I feel like there is some tricks, but you're teaching them. So that's awesome. And you've got an upcoming class coming up in January where we're going to be doing that. Yeah? No?
I don't know if it's January or February, but it's coming up really soon.
Okay, well, I'm super excited. I'm going to share with them this paper piecing pattern today. And then I don't have pink in my house. I feel like pink might be something that's in Tucson, Pam.
No, I've seen it at Home Goods. I've seen it at Target. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and see what we're not seeing anybody doing pink yet. Ooh, Connie has some pink. Okay, you're not the only one that's seen it. So I do have Donnell here. She is still live. Let's check in and see where she's at. She was working on a cool project, and then we'll head over to the paper piecing.
Okay.
All right. Are you live? Did you finish this, Donnell? Oh, you're muted.
I'm almost there.
Yeah.
So you can see how I've added a couple rows around here. So now that looks extra fun. And I got my extra rows out here. And so I just cut this off and I realized I haven't cut it off quite enough. So I'm going to cut that off a little bit more. I've already made my trim. And so when Pam gets done, I will be back and show you how to get this on there.
I love it. Okay, cool. Well, then let's head on over to Pam. She's going to share with us her paper piecing tree, and you guys got the pattern in the link there. So let's take it away. Oops.
Really fun holiday project. We're going to do some paper piecing today. We're going to make a Christmas tree. How fun is that? You could add a couple layers of batting to this to make it suitable for a hot plate. You could put Insulbrite in it to make it a hot pad holder. There's a bunch of things you can do with this. It could be a decoration, it could be a mug mat, whatever you want. It's 6 inches square, it's not that big, so the pieces are really small. Grab some scrap fabric, whatever you have in your little treasure trove at home. I'm going to use pink and green because I've been out shopping and I've seen a lot of pink this Christmas, so I thought it'd be really fun to do some pink and green. We're going to start here with the trunk because you paper piece by the number. I'm going to use my light stick from So Steady with my table, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to put this together using the light stick. So let's go to the sewing machine and get this sewn out. Okay, we are at the machine, and I just want to show you a few supplies that I'm going to use. Number one is a cutting surface. You trim as you go when you do paper piecing, so that's what this is for. I have a small rotary cutter, and I have an add a quarter ruler. Now this has a lip on it. It's really nice for paper piecing. It's not necessary. If you have a small 1 by 6 inch ruler or 2 by 6 inches, 2 by 8 inches, something that's not very big, that works out really well too. And then I have a wooden iron. It's like a finger press that I use. Now you can, if you want to, get up and go back and forth to the iron or put an iron next to you. That's a lot of work when I'm doing a video, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use my finger press here. And then I have a glue stick. This is not necessary at all. You can use pins, but I'm going to show you the hazards of using pins with paper piecing. So I use a glue stick just for the first piece. I have my fabric kind of roughly cut. My background pieces are this cream color. This is my trunk, and then this is my tree. So those are all my fabrics. They're ready to go. My pattern, I've written pink and pink on these two pieces right here so that I know that I want to use the pink fabric when I get to these two pieces, and then the rest of the tree will be green. And then last but not least, my light stick. So it connects with a USB, and you can plug it right into your machine if you want to, if you have a USB connection on your machine. It goes from bright, and if you hold the power button down, it's going to decrease in, I don't know what you call that. It gets darker, and then you can get it brighter. So whatever's comfortable for you. When you turn it off, turn it back on. It's at its brightest. So that is the light stick. And if you can see, when I put this upside down on my table with the light stick, I can see right through it, and I can see my pattern. So this is foundation paper that you can print on. It's like it's a little bit thicker than newsprint, but it's much thinner than regular like 20 weight paper. You want a really lightweight paper that's easy to tear. I've set my machine at a 2.0 stitch length. You want a shorter stitch length. It's easier to tear the stitches, to tear the paper out if you have a shorter stitch length. Okay, so we're going to get started. This is number 1 right here. So we want to start with number 1, but we need to flip this over because we're going to put the fabric on this side, but we're going to sew on this side because we want to sew right on these lines. So for my very first piece, and I only do this for the first piece, I put a little dab of glue, not a lot, just a little. This is a temporary adhesive glue stick, and it works perfect. Put that right there, and now this isn't going to move. It's going to stay right there for me. Next up is, I'm going to look. So this is 2, that's where we go next, and this is background. I can tell by looking at it. Behind the tree, next to the trunk is the background, and then these big triangles here, that's background as well. So, oh, I didn't put enough glue on. That was a little too temporary. Let's do this. Let it just stick a little better. And it really does disappear, I promise. You want to put this first piece down right side up. Okay? And then the next piece, we want to put right side down. So I'm looking at this to see which is the, this is going to go like this. And we're going to flip this, make sure that I have enough fabric, which I do. Sometimes I check. And we are going to sew into the seam allowance, because if you don't sew into the seam allowance, you have a problem at the end. Just like when you do regular sewing, it goes off into the seam allowance is sewn as well. So you want to make sure that you do that when you paper piece. Go just a couple stitches beyond. Flip it. And then that's how I do that. And now I'm going to sew the other side. Again, right sides down. Now, if I had pins on this fabric, that would be a problem because the pins would be underneath. So if you're going to pin, what you need to do is come over here and pin from the top. And you can see how you can see your fabric through here. The fabric is underneath, but you can see it because of the light stick. So then if you wanted to, you could pin this right here through the paper. I don't pin unless it's a really large piece. Which this isn't, then I don't pin. There we go. I'm stitching right on the line. And then I'm going to, before I press that back, I'm going to take, I folded right on the stitching line where I stitched. I'm going to take my 1/4 inch at a quarter. And if you have a regular ruler, then just measure a 1/4 inch. And this way I'm getting a 1/4 inch seam. This is a lot, not as easy to do at this angle. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. Here we go. And now I have a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And this I don't have to trim too much. But and now there is my base, which I'm going to take my little wooden iron. So now the next piece is a green piece, and these are kind of flipping a little bit. So what I'm going to do is use my temporary glue and just kind of glue this down so that it doesn't flip over while I'm trying to add on my next pieces. If you notice, it's very big. What I like to do is find the next seam, which is between these and number 4. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Fold this down, and I stitched beyond that, right? So I'm just going to tear the paper a little bit just to pull that back. I'm going to fold on this line as close as I can get to be on that line. Then I can trim this off, and it's a perfect place to line up my next piece. Normally I have my cutting more to my immediate left and not like at an angle, so it goes a little faster. There we go. Now I have a perfect line to put my green fabric. So it doesn't matter which one I start with. I'm going to put right side down, and I'm just going to leave it big like this. Flip it over, and then I can stitch right on this line. Again, I have a seam allowance. Oops. I want to make sure that I go out into the seam allowance. There we go. There we go. And then we're going to open this up. Hide my fabric back here so that I don't accidentally cut it. I know this is a really big piece and you're like, why doesn't it doesn't need to be this big? But I don't like to pre-cut, so I just cut as I go. This I want to make a little bit smoother. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it along the next line, which is between 4 and 5. It's this angled line. So I'm going to take my paper, I'm going to fold it along this line. I'm trying to get it on the stitch line as much as I can. Now I can trim off this excess fabric. And that will give me a 1/4 inch seam allowance and a place to line up my next piece of fabric. And now this next piece, it says pink, so I'm going to take my pink fabric. I'm going to alternate my green fabric. I take my pink fabric, and I want to make sure that I go on either sides so that when I flip this, it covers the seam allowance, or it covers where it needs to be placed. So I'm just going to set that right there. Flip this. Now I'm stitching along this line. And I'm just going to keep going until I'm done. So some people trim after they sew and some people trim before they sew. I like to trim before. So. I think those colors go together very nicely. Now,
All right. Well, this is a good time to answer some questions. Pam, we had someone ask if you were sewing in a line earlier.
yes, we're I do about sew on the ready to line. put the sides on. There you go. I do sew right on the line. And I know that you can't see the sewing. Some people made a comment about, moving the camera. If I move the camera closer to the foot of the machine where you could see me sew, then you can't see me cut. If I went back too far, then you wouldn't be able to see, the lines that I was using with the light stick. So I kind of tried to compromise and figured if you knew that I was sewing on the line, maybe you didn't actually need to see it. When I do the class, it's going to be a live class. And so definitely the camera is going to be at a different angle. It's on a different machine and a different table and all of that. So I just wanted to clear that up. And yes, 505 has a glue stick, which is super cool. I was so excited when I saw this in the store about a year ago and couldn't wait to get it home and try it. So those were two questions I saw. What did you see?
I think that was pretty much it. I think, yeah, people wanted to see you sew, but I think that's just because we love to see things go through the sewing machine, you know?
I know. Sorry.
But yes, you're sewing in a straight line, so there's no extra special lines happening there. Just you're flipping the paper, so you're sewing on the paper, which I thought was super interesting.
Yes.
Again, I've never done this before, but that was one of the things that I didn't realize how simple paper piecing could be when you're sewing on paper. So, yeah. All right, I'll let you finish it up here.
All right.
Oops.
So I am going to take a little bit of glue and hold this top down. Press that right there. Okay. Flip this. Now I want to fold on this line here, and I've got stitches that have come through, which is fine. I just need to rip a couple of stitches. There we go. And now I'm going to cut 1/4 of an inch all across this line. We're getting towards the home stretch here. I don't think I can cut under there. There we go. Our tree is taking shape. We're going to do the same to the other side.
another good question came in. Someone asked, what is the stitch length that you're using for this?
That's a really good question. And I use a 2.0. You want a really tight stitch length. It makes it easier to get the paper out.
Okay.
The paper's perforated in more places. So I use a
Oh, that makes
2.0.
sense.
Tree.
Yeah.
So
Because when
now
you're
I
you actually
have
take the paper out.
the sides to put on here and here. And I took a big rectangle and cut it corner to corner. I'm trying to, it's really hard on this fabric to tell which is which, but I'm going to put that like that, and then this is going to go like that. Oh, that's wrong. That goes there, this goes here. Okay. I'm going to start with this one. Remember to go off into the seam allowance. We haven't been out by a seam allowance in a while. And finish off into the seam allowance. Let's see if that, yeah. You just want to make sure that you cover the whole area. I should have maybe moved that up a little bit. Like hold it like that and then flip it over. You just want to make sure that you completely cover the block. Put that there. Again, stitch into this outside seam allowance. There we go. Same thing at the end. And now what you're going to do is you're going to flip it and you're going to cut it on this outside line here, or just shy of it. This is the edge of your block right here. This bold line is the edge of your block, and from here to here is your seam allowance. So this bold line is a 6-inch block, and then adding a 1/4 inch all the way around is 6 1/4. Now, sometimes when I make like trivets, hot pad holders, things like that, I like to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I put the fabric wrong side on top of this with the batting and, you know, stitch it. I may do some quilting in here. I think just straight ruler work right here would look really nice, kind of echoing the block, and then maybe leave the inside alone, or stitch in the ditch along the edges here. But after you cut this down, which I'll do and take a picture, then you peel the paper out and you're just left with fabric. So let me go get this cut and I will take a picture.
So one thing that I do want to share with everybody is if you're making a quilt, say you were going to make a quilt out of those trees, you would want to leave the paper in when you connected the blocks. And I'll go over that in the class, but you do want to leave the paper in for that because it helps you line everything up. And yeah, so, and I do leave a 1/2 inch. I like to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance when I'm making things that I'm going to turn and things like that. It just makes it a little bit more solid for me. And then I top stitch around the outside because I don't like to hand stitch. That's just me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
thank you so, so much for sharing that project. I think that's a first. I don't know that we've ever done a paper piecing project.
well, I hope everybody could use it for the holidays because it goes together
Yeah.
so quickly. It's
I
just,
yeah, no, I love it, and I think it's a really cool way to show how neat that light stick can be. And I
yeah.
did see a lot of people that were commenting that that might be something that they would love to win today. Um, just a reminder, everyone, we are offering an opportunity for you to get 15% off today only. And that is an opportunity to get 15% off today only on any purchase over $100. So you can still pick it up in a store for free. You can for free shipping, not free product. You can but the 15% off is for sure today only. So if you are wanting to take advantage of some of those super deals that you've seen, you get an extra 15% off today. Wow. I don't know that we've actually shown everybody, but we do have some really, really awesome holiday specials going right now, and then a chance to win all of them. So I will go ahead and head over and show you what that looks like real quick on our website. Pam, thank you again so much for
You're
coming on
welcome.
today and sharing that project. I did share a link to the pattern. I'll share another link to the pattern, and then I'll do a follow-up email and make sure everybody has that link too. So they have that. And then stay tuned because Pam's going to have another paper piecing class and you'll be able to watch her sew. No.
Yeah, I promise.
All right. Well, thank you again, Pam. Looks like Donnell's got something to show us here. She's
I know
wrapped
it
this.
looks exciting. I
I
want to see
know.
it.
All right, Donnell, I'm going to let you take it away. Oh, you're muted again. There we go.
There we go. What I did was I did get to do clear up to 29 inches on here. So I have maxed out the end down here on my, you can see it goes to 29 inches. And that's what I actually was able to use. And so I stitched that around. As I told you, I was putting my back on. So I laid that back on there and I stitched it all the way around. And then I cut 1/4 of an inch away from that stitching. Now, some of you may even want to go ahead and stitch it twice, 1/4 of an inch away, and then cut right beside a stitching. It doesn't really matter. Now, I've left this open because I do want to use my bound to fit tool. So when I get it, I will use it. But what I've done is I went ahead and I stitched my binding on because this was 2.5 inch wide, folded in half, and I stitched it a little bit greater. It's probably more like the 3/8. So, Stacy, I think your mic's on.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. So anyway, then I'm folding this back. Now, you know, as a woman, I can change my mind because I originally said I was going to put it on the back and go to the front. Well, I decided because this is just a little bit wider, it's coming back there. So I'm going to just stitch in that ditch. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that one back using my Wonder Clip. Now I'm leaving enough here because when I join it, I'll need some extra. So I'm going to come clear down here to start. And I put on my foot, many of you probably have this and may not even know about it, but I put on my foot that has a rudder on it. You can see that rudder. And so that's going to stay right in that ditch. Now you want to know where your thread is because you don't want to get it caught back in there when you're putting this foot on. There we go. And I'm making sure that I've got my needle set so it's following the rudder. So I'm going to move it over so it's right behind that. And I need to get it so, nope, it's not there yet. It doesn't always mean that it's set for the center position. So this looks like this is going to be right there. And what I want to do is I want to lengthen my stitch. I'm not going to do it at 2.4. I'm going to do it not quite to 3, but I'm going to lengthen it up to about 2.7. And we're going to put that rudder right in that ditch, and we're just going to start stitching. Now, before I go too far, I'm going to check it. But since it's a bigger stitch, if it's not good, I can take it out because I got to get far enough that I can look behind there. So let's see. I'm moving my needle over just a little bit more.
Oh, so we did have a good question come in, Donnell.
Yeah.
Someone asked if you used the circles and straights tool when you originally started sewing on that binding.
I did not. I know some people do, but I did not. So, but I'm sure you could. I can't believe how much better this looks by just moving that over one little tiny speck. Now I got off after I said that. So let me show you what it should look like, because it's kind of hard to dodge around this camera, and I'm going to have to take a few stitches out. But you can see right here when I stitched in the ditch, you can't even see it. That kind of just folds back over. And then I got a little, now if you want it out like that, that's perfectly fine too. Either way, but be consistent. So I kind of like it right like that.
I do too, Donnell. I think it looks good.
So I think I'm just going to go ahead and continue with that.
I think it looks good and safe.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and put that foot back down, and we will get that needle over there.
Perfect. Now I want to make sure everyone knows we're still going to do our final giveaway here, but we do have a half an hour left, guys, because we got one more video for you. It's Kathy. She's done a special project for you today, but she wasn't able to be here, so I made sure that she got it to us ahead of time. So, and then I'll be picking our winners. So stay tuned. Don't leave us quite yet.
So I'm going to go ahead and just pull this off because I just want you to see the big part in the scheme of things. And you can see how much fun that was to do, and a little bit more about learning how to use a bias binding so that this will lay flat. If you cut this on the straight of grain, this is not going to go around this circle. So I really enjoyed playing with these stitches and seeing how much fun that could be. And I meant to go get a ribbon, and I forgot to get that because remember, I've got one little around here that I need a ribbon on, but I think just putting a little ribbon right there might be cute. So,
oh, adorable. Honestly, Donnell, that would be perfect. And if you can get a really big circle, which we know you can, that could be a great tree skirt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sure would.
So a tip on getting a real big circle, just walk your table away from your machine.
Exactly. If you walk your table away from your machine, then use a ruler or yardstick to make sure you put that piece, because this will adhere to your table.
Yeah.
And you can put that piece on there, but it has to be this part right here has to be straight out to the left of your needle. So you would just take like a yardstick, make it straight out there, and you would be fine. And I have done that.
Yeah.
And it works just great. But it's definitely another reason why you want a nice big
extension table.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I love it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me this afternoon and coming back so you can see what it looks like in the finished stage.
Oh, we love it. Thank you so much for this amazing project, Donnell. I have a feeling this isn't the last that we'll see of you during the holiday season, but we greatly appreciate you and everything that you bring to us as far as education and knowledge and cute projects. So yeah, well, let me go ahead and cue everyone over to our giveaway page. I've posted this link a couple times. All you need to do is get in here and put your name and email address. We'll be announcing these winners actually on the 13th. We are going to do some live giveaways today, so I did ask everybody to share with us what your favorite things are. But don't forget to enter to win there too as a second chance to win. We do also have all of these amazing deals. These are only lasting for the next couple days. So again, if you see something you really like the circles and straights tool, you get a bonus stiletto with that, or the light stick, you get a bonus biz ruler with that. There's so many possibilities, so I definitely want you to check those things out. We even have those edge to edge connectors on sale. You get a bonus basic marker with that, which is a really, really cool marking tool that you want with those edge to edge rulers. So check out all of these deals. I'm going to post another link to that as well. And now we're going to have Kathy take it away for our final project of the day.
Good morning and welcome to our Getting Ready for Christmas event. I have a little bit of a project for you today. It's going to include two different types of quilting. One will be the template style of quilting and another will be the trapunto style of quilting. We're going to combine those two into one item. And we're going to do that with the DM Quilting Tree template. It's a 2-piece template set. We are going to use the star on it, and we are going to use the larger tree. So what I have here already is I do have my reveal fabric. Underneath it, what you're going to see is I've got 2 layers of wool fabric, but just in the center here. And I also have my batting right here. So I'm going to go ahead and on my top piece of fabric, I have got template fuse, and we're going to go ahead, take that release paper off of it. Before you do, I suggest you go ahead and mark your horizontal and your vertical center point, which I will do now. Okay, let's talk just briefly about what I did with my fabric and my pieces in preparation for this project. What I have is a 14-inch pillow form. So I have cut my batting, my reveal fabric, and my top fabric at 16 inches. I have backed my top fabric with template fuse. The inside where I'm going to trapunto does not need to be extended all the way out to the edges because we are only going to need it under the area that this template will cover. So I'm going to get the template out here, and there it is. I'm going to go ahead and use my reference lines, make sure that I am covered with the trapunto fabric or the wool batting underneath, which I am. And I'm going to go ahead and I am going to move that template down just a tad because you see that I can easily figure out where that extra fabric or where that extra batting is. And I do want to put the star on top. So this won't be exactly centered. Even though there's my center line, it's going to be off center a little bit, and that's okay. So let's go ahead and let's stitch this up. And I'm not going to put this whole piece for the base in on this particular one. I'm just going to put the trunk in. So let's go ahead, take a look, and I'll bring my bobbin thread up. There we go. This is going to give us a rather thin trunk, but that's okay. This is just a representation, remember. I'm going to hold those threads back to get started. And I'm going to make sure that I have plenty of stable tape on my template here. And we're going to go ahead and start. Take that one stitch in place like I like to do. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world, guys. You'll be fine without it. Okay, and we're going to come up and over that one little area where our tree is going to be come in and go back out, because that's what Christmas trees do. We want to keep going nice and slow around that area. And what I'm going to do is I am going to stop when I get to the top. And the reason why is I am going to take the template out at this point, and I'm going to put the star on. Yep, we're going to do a star. And I'm, again, lining everything up. There we go. And it is a very easy star to do. Take your time. Remember, it's a journey, not a race, and I really want you to enjoy this journey. This journey of template and ruler quilting is so fun. It is, I find it so relaxing. And when you get done and look at what you've created, it's almost like, I can't believe I did that. But you did. Okay, now we're going to come back down. We're going to finish up our tree. I love how this looks. It's beautiful. And watch yourself around those little cliffs. Slow down a little bit. This has got a lot of curve into it, and I know that you've heard me say it before. I'll say it again. When you're doing curves, go nice and slow and make little smaller stitches. It just helps it to look a little more finished. Now what I'm going to do is I am just going to close that trunk up right here. Okay? And that's just a few stitches, and there we go, all closed up. Isn't that gorgeous? Love it. Now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to cut my thread, and I'm going to bury my thread. One thing I want you to notice, I didn't put a backing fabric on here. You don't have to. This part is going to be enclosed in the pillow. No one's ever going to see it. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so first things first, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make an overhand knot in here and pull that knot about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch above the top of the fabric. The reason that we do that is if we put that into the knot into the top of the fabric, it's not going to allow us to bury it. And that's exactly what the point of this is to bury it so that knot disappears and is never seen again. Okay, there we go. And it is gone. Now I'm going to do the back as well. Normally what I do is I don't pull the bobbin thread up to the top. I will turn my project over and I will pull the bobbin or the top thread, I'm sorry, to the back when I am tying off the end of the template quilting. And the reason that I do this is because I don't want both knots ending up in the same place. Now, with trapunto, you're going to have to be careful. You don't want your thread through these layers. You see how it comes right out on my batting. That is where you want this to be buried. Okay, And the reason why is the next step we're going to be doing is we are going to be taking off some of that wool batting that we've got on there. So this is our first step to our project today. I love it. It's simple. It's very simple, very easy. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I am going to get my little snips and I'm going to get my seam ripper, the dreaded seam ripper. I'm going to go ahead. Whoops, wrong way. I'm going to back this up a little bit. Okay, there we go. What I want to do is I want to cut away just the top fabric here. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I cut away the wool for the trapunto. So I'm going to use a duck-billed scissors. I have no idea why they're called duck-billed, but they are. And we're going to come in here. We're going to hold that up and we're going to snip away that wool right next to where our stitching is. Okay? And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the nice thing about this little project. Nothing needs to be absolutely perfect. I'm going to come in here and I'm feeling it so that I can get as close as possible, but not so close that I'm going to snip my fabric. And we're just going to keep maneuvering ourselves around here. Want to make sure you've got a good view of this. And here we go. And you'll see, I do maneuver this a lot. I don't take very big bites out of it either. So I'm going to come around and just keep going. And I can see my stitches are right there. So here is the beginning. I'm not going to make you sit and watch me do this whole thing because it's going to take me a few minutes. But I will come back and show you what it looks like after this is all trimmed out. Okay, we're back. I have gone ahead and I have trimmed out all of the excess batting, the wool batting, from around my tree. So you'll see it's got a little bit of a puff to it. And what I'm going to do next is I did 2 markings, corner to corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some straight line stitching here. And this is going to just accentuate that trapunto a little bit. And there we go. I'm not going to make you sit through all of this, but I do want you to see what I'm doing and kind of explain why I wanted to do the extra stitching on here. And the reason why is because it will help that trapunto stand up and really be more noticeable. And that's why I use 2 layers of the wool batting. It has such a beautiful loft to it. Okay, so here we go. We're just going to do, as I said, some straight line stitching. And go ahead and get rid of that. And now I do need to adjust my foot. There we go. Beautiful. Now, you probably don't need to go all the way out to the end, but I am going to, just so that I am sure I catch everything that I want inside of the pillow when the time comes. Need to get that, to keep that spacing gauge close by. And now I'm only going to come up 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to turn it around so that you can see what I'm doing. I want it to be easier for you to see. And when we're going 1/4 of an inch, we know that the tip of our needle is 1/4 of an inch away from the outside of that foot. It looks like I need to go about another 1/2 of a stitch to make sure it's at 1/4. There we go. So now I can line up my 12-inch arc, and I know I've got 1/4 of an inch spacing. I'm not going to use this small spacing across the entire pillow. I'm going to go ahead and mix it up just a little bit, and let me show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to come back with 1/4 inch. And again, I'm taking my time. I just don't rush through quilting. It relaxes me. You should be having your shoulders nice and relaxed at this point, and I'm going to touch the tree. All right, so here is my 1/4 inch channel. I'm going to come up now to about 3/4 of an inch. And to do that, what I'm doing is I am just traveling on the tree. There we go. And if I put my foot on here, we know that it's going to be 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to need to come up a little higher. No worries. Now I'm going to be at about 1/2 an inch, so I do need to come up further. And my suggestion is take small increments. You can always stitch further away. It's a lot harder to stitch backwards. Come up a little bit more. And it's going to seem like it's taking forever to get that 3/4 of an inch. And that's because this tree has this bend in it. If it were straight up and down, it would be totally different. So there we go. I think we've got it. Well, close. We got to do one more stitch, I think, guys. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and come down, and this is going to be 3/4 of an inch. I always like to make sure my needle is down before I take my hands off of the project and move the template. And down we're going to go. And this, when I go back, I'm going to do it just like I did the first line. I'm going to come up until the edge of my foot touches the template, and I'm going to put another 1/4 inch channel in. And when we make this into like a plaid, which is what it's going to end up like, I love the way it looks having the 1/4 inch and the 3/4 inch. Now, when you're doing this, what you want to be cognizant of is to be sure that you are not pushing this foot against this template, and you don't want to be pushing the template against the foot. If you do that, you're tightening up your shoulders and you're fighting yourself. So keep your shoulders relaxed and just ride the template. Ride the side of the template. It'll be so much easier and you'll be so much more relaxed. Okay. And this is why I quilt. I do it because it relaxes me. It makes me feel accomplished, and it allows me to show off, well, not show off, but produce really beautiful items and gift them to family and friends. Okay, there we go. Now this one we're going to end up right at the star. No worries. I'm going to cut my thread here because in order to come out at 3/4 of an inch, we're going to end up here. And what I want to do is I want to start moving on the other side and make these lines of stitching to be one continuous line. I don't want to stop here halfway and then start again, because if I do this as one continuous line, it's going to keep these channels running more evenly. So just going to go ahead, clip my thread here, and I will bury those threads. This is what it looks like from the back side. And then we'll be back and we'll take care of the tree. Okay? Here we are. We have all of our background lines stitched in. The next step is going to be to template the Christmas tree. So I've got my seam ripper here, and what I'm going to do is be very careful to make sure that I only get the top fabric. And I'm going to, great way to do that is kind of feel for it. You should be able to feel whether you've got one or more layers of fabric. That side does not want to cut real well. So there we go, and you can see there's my green fabric underneath, so I'm good to go. I only have one layer there. I like these little snips. They're curved, and they work really, really well for this application. I'm just going to put a little light here. And I'm going to come over to the edge. Now, when you're doing template, what you do not want to do is you do not want to cut right up to this line of stitching. You want a little bit of fabric on the inside with that template fuse. And what that's going to do is that's going to make a nice, secure connection there so that you don't need to worry about it coming out when it's washed. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and cut around this tree. I'm not going to cut the star out. And here we go. You see, it takes very little time to take and trim this out. And what's going to happen after I get it trimmed is we're going to go ahead and we're going to press it. And that's going to get rid of all these lines of stitching that I've got, or the lines that I drew in for my stitching. Use them as guides to make sure that I kept everything really nice and straight. I'm going to come down and across the bottom. Just like this. I'm not going to worry about doing this area right here simply because it's just so tiny. It'd be more trouble getting in there than it is worth. Okay, and up and around we go. We're almost there. And we've gone and okay, now we've got our template. And you can see how it puffs out from the rest of the pillow top. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to press this down, and then I'll give you a quick explanation of how we put it together, and you'll get to see the final product. For the back of the pillow, what I did was I cut two 14.5-inch squares, and then I pressed down approximately 1/3 of the way I have left on top, and I am just going to quickly stitch across that fold. That's going to actually accomplish two things for us. The first it's going to accomplish is to keep this envelope back of the pillow from getting too baggy. We don't want it to stretch out. So this can be considered a line of stay stitching. If you're familiar with garment construction, you will understand that term. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the second one quickly here. And then we're going to put these two together and just do some basic stitching to hold them together. So here we go. Find my scissors there. Okay, and so that's all there is to it. That's really all that we have to do to prepare the back, other than to put these two together just so that we can get it into the pillow. Now we want both of these to be right sides up, and we're going to put one over the top like this. And what that's going to do is give us our envelope to be able to put the pillow in, or take it out if we want to wash it. And what we want is we want this from edge to edge to measure 15.5 inches. So I'm going to put that in. That ruler goes in to the edge. And wow, I couldn't have done better than this if I had planned it. And now this square is 14.5 inches. I'm sorry, not 15.5, 14.5. So we're going to pull it down just a little bit, make sure we've got 14.5 inches here. And we have a 14-inch pillow form. So there we go. We could just pull this up a little bit on this side and a little bit on this side. So there we've got our measurements. And it doesn't need to be absolutely precisely accurate, because we're going to put a pillow form in there, so it's going to fill it out quite nicely. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a line of stitching in here that's going to keep it together while we're putting the pillow together. And that's simply all that it is for. This will not show. It's just going to make our life easier as we put the pillow together. Okay, so here we go. And what you're going to see is now we can see all the way through that envelope back. I have trimmed it down my front. We are going to put the front right sides together with the back, and we're going to stitch all the way around. And I like to use a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So that is going to be right there. And I'll go ahead and stitch this around and be right back. Okay, so we have gone ahead and stitched all the way around. So we have only 2 steps left to do. One is to go ahead and just snip off the corners. This will help your pillow stay nice and square when it's done. And we turn it right side out and we push out the corners of the pillow. Okay, so here's the inside of the pillow. And now we're going to go ahead and pull the inside to the outside. So we have it right side out. And this is a very easy one to do. We're just going to go ahead. And what I like to do in the corners is go ahead and push my finger out as much as I can. Then I'm going to take my point turner and I am going to go ahead and very softly, I guess that's a good way to put it, I'm going to carefully, very carefully push out these corners. Now, you don't want to go after this with a vengeance. And the reason being, if you go after it with a vengeance, you stand the chance of actually poking a hole in that corner and then needing to go back and fix it. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay. Oh, yeah, I've had to do more than one. And again, I like to use my finger to get as much out as possible. It makes it a little easier when we go in with the point turner. And we just go ahead and carefully push that corner out. Very nice. They usually end up turning out very nice and even and straight. And here's our fourth one. Now, normally I would take this over to the ironing board and I would iron it down, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to stuff this pillow in here. So I'm going to lift you up a little ways so you can see how easily this envelope back works. Now, I like to kind of fold my pillow up like this, stick it in the first half, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach under and I'm going to pull that second flap of the envelope back up and put the pillow in. As I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I push it well into the corners, push the corner of the pillow form into the corner of the pillow top that we've just made. Just straighten everything out, and you'll see how easily that does straighten out there. Remember to push that pillow form into the corners of your pillow cover, and this is how it ends up. Just as beautiful as can be. And so what you have is a very easy little project to put together to help you with your Christmas decorations. So I hope that you've enjoyed this little project and I hope you'll give it a shot. Don't forget to post a picture of it in Westerly by me. I can't wait to see your renditions of my Christmas pillow.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Kathy. That was such a great project. Absolutely loved it. I am sharing with everyone today. There was a question, I think, on the ruler. That is the DM Quilting Basic Holiday Package ruler, which I have posted a link to, but you can purchase just the tree itself. That's also on the website. But if you are wanting to get the holiday designs, you can see that there's quite a few of them that are kind of neat. It comes with the tree. It comes with her stepping stone design, her small ribbon candy, and then a smaller stepping stone. So all kinds of fun stuff in that tree, you know, with the star and all of those goodies. Such a fun project. So absolutely love that you included that. Thank you for sharing that project. And thank you to all of our educators today for sharing all of the projects that they have shared. We wanted to remind you again today, we are doing that special where you can take advantage of an additional 15% off of today only. You do have to put in the promo code though to be able to purchase at that 15% off. So please, use your wish list, take advantage of that if you haven't already. We also wanted to remind you to go in there. We have another chance to win. So we are going to go ahead and pick winners on the tools that you had said, yes, I absolutely want that. So I have my giveaway winner tool picked out here, and I'm going to go ahead and go through what we're going to be giving away today. But first, I wanted to go ahead and just remind you to take advantage of our giveaways that we're going to be announcing during our award ceremony, which is going to be on the 13th. That's next Friday. We're going to have an award ceremony we would love for you to participate in. So go ahead, and I just posted the link to the giveaways. So if you saw something that you would love to win today, now is the time to tell us, because we're going to be picking our winners. I'm going to announce the first thing that I'm going to be giving away. You can see my giving tree here. Look at this. The first thing I wanted to give away was probably the thing that I saw the most I went with, and that is our Circles and Straights tool. So this is built into our Wish 2.0 table, as well as our Deluxe 2.0 table. We do have really cool holiday packages that are ending like today on those. So if you are wanting to go ahead and take advantage of one of those holiday packages, I would say do it now. But if you already have an awesome table and you're just looking for maybe the Circles and Straights tool, then we are going to go ahead and give one away. So this is all of the things that we have on sale right now. That Wish table with the Circles and Straights, with the bag, with the suspension system, that's going through the next couple of days, and then that sale is over. And then all of our kind of buy this, get that, or BOGO deals are also ending this week. So now is the time to take advantage of that. We now have 59 of you in our drawing, so keep it up. Tell us what you want to win, and we're going to start giving a couple things away here. So we'll start with the Circles and Straights tool. This is something that I think we saw a couple times today, and our winner is going to be, let's see here. All right, Valerie, congratulations, Valerie. You are the winner of the Circles and Straights tool. Hopefully that's one that you're excited about. Yes, it is. Congratulations. I see you just posted that. So, well, actually, that was another Valerie, but hopefully you want this too. So that is our first winner today. Let's go ahead and see if we can get another winner going here. We're going to go ahead and pick a winner for the other item that I saw a lot of excitement about, and this is in particular during our paper piecing, which is our light stick. So if you don't have this amazing light stick yet, I highly encourage it. Why? Because it's got so many great uses around your sewing machine. You have the dimming option on it. It's great if you have a Sew City table to turn your table into a light box. And so, paper piecing, hello, we showed you that project today. Now I want to start paper piecing. That's so cool. But this is a great little tool to you can easily plug into your sewing machine and get going. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this going for you. Now I'm going to pick a winner for the light stick. So here we go. The winner for the light stick is going to be, let's see here. Marissa Kelb, you won the light stick today. So all of our winners, I do need you to email your address for where you'd like us to send your goodies to. Look at that cute little dog in Marissa's picture. I love it. So we do have one more winner today, and that winner is going to be for our last giveaway. What is our last giveaway? Well, this is something that we did show off today as well. It was showed off, I think, in Carrie's presentation, and we're super excited about this because it's one of our brand new options in our lineup, which is our new embroidery collection. So we are giving away our brand new embroidery collection, and that is going to be the embroidery There it is. Edge to Edge collection, guys. So if you don't have a embroidery machine and you'd like to, if you're the winner and you'd like to swap this out for the Edge to Edge templates, we can do that for you too. But we're gonna plan on giving you away the Edge to Edge embroidery collection. And then you saw the Edge to Edge templates today, I think a couple different times. So those are our 2 items that we're gonna be giving away. And so we're gonna pick a winner for well, we're giving away 1 item. You get to pick if it's the Edge to Edge embroidery collection or the 2-piece Edge to Edge template set. So we're picking a winner here. Let's see what that is. And that winner is going to be Sharon Cook. Sharon, you are the lucky winner of the embroidery Edge to Edge collection or 2-piece set. So congratulations, all of our winners today. Thank you. I think, like I think someone else said, you're all winners because you got so many great projects today. We were so excited to bring this to you and give you an opportunity to participate in some fun holiday projects using our So Steady tools by our amazing educators. So thank you so much to all the educators that came on today and shared. I know we've got more great education coming your way through a lot of our for the rest of the year. So stay tuned for that. In 2 weeks, we're going to be announcing the winners to our holiday giveaways, which is been going on for the last few weeks. So definitely get in there and get entered in to win on that one. And hopefully you can join us. So thank you all so much for joining today, and we'll look forward to having you join us again on another live soon. Have a wonderful holidays. Bye, everyone.